And they want to spend all that money, and the Fed doesn't want them to do that. But the Fed has no control over it. And so, with that said, well, maybe I get some questions coming in here.
Anyway, I do have some.
No, I don't have any. All I get is
all right.
The closes. It was a very good day. AEM was up 165, GG up 107, MindFind is up 17, and SSRI was up 94, which was 2.71%, 2.69%, 1.60%, and 4.10%. So it's a very good day. I don't know what the HUI did. I'll guess and say it was up 5 points.
4 points.
And so we may be bottoming here. That's why I'm giving this information out, so that people can get a feel for the market. Anyway, I don't have any questions. But getting back to what were we talking about?
The TARP money and the.
Oh yeah, and so I know from my contact in banking that the Fed wanted to reduce the liquidity factor by 1.5 trillion to keep from going into hyperinflation. And they were going to do that by calling in TARP. Let's say they get $5 billion, and then they get about 1.6 to $2 billion. So let's say they get all the money in, and they were going to withdraw that from the system, and then withdraw another $800 billion. And they didn't say how they were going to do that, but I imagine it would be in the repo market, among other things. They're not going to make it, and I said that in the article when I wrote it a week ago. And so the administration's come along, and they've said, we need lots of money, and we're going to do the things that we just discussed. It's called cash for everybody. It's like it's coming out of Obama's stash. And my guess is they're seeking probably $400 or $500 billion. We'll know later. And so if the Fed gives $300 billion to the Treasury and takes Treasury bills in return, nothing comes out of the liquidity. So they're going to have hyperinflation. So we can plan on it.
Well, this is just a way to avoid calling it a second stimulus, is the way I look at it. Second stimulus would, certainly put a negative connotation to everything. So here's a question. Do you expect emerging markets to go down along with the U.S. stock market in 2010?
Absolutely. They have never decoupled and never will. They're enslaved.
Here's a question to you. I got a whole bunch that came in, so we need to get to these questions. According to ABC News, a massive security breach occurred by the Transportation Security Administration as it inadvertently posted online its airport screening procedure manuals, including some of the mostly guarded secrets regarding special rules for diplomats, the CIA, and law enforcement officers. Was this deliberately done?
I don't know. I would, if I had to guess, I'd say no. They're so stupid, it's unbelievable.
Where do you expect the USDX to be trading at before the devaluation of 2010?
I would say anywhere between 40 and 55. It's hard to pick a bottom. That's a fairly wide range. But it could easily get down to 50, 55, so... and it could go lower. They're not... They've already started, they being the oil producers, they've already started using other currencies. And so it's, the dollar is really a petrodollar. That's what's kept it together. And without that assistance, the dollar is going to be used less, and it's going to get down in value because it doesn't hold that preeminent spot anymore as official currency for oil trade. would say under normal circumstances, even if they didn't have a devaluation, by the end of next year, or certainly the early following year for 6 months, it would have been down to 40 or 50 anyway. And so it's not hard to call for an official devaluation because it's staring you right in the face. You don't have to be a genius to figure it out.
These multinational corporations, Bob, are complaining because the dollar has lost strength because they're finding it difficult to make money on that side, on the other side of the world.
That's the best news I heard all day. They're the ones that caused this monstrosity.
Yeah. So
Good.
is our government going to respond?
Of dollars.
Is our government going to respond to them? They can't.
No, they're not going to respond to them.
With the thing
Incidentally, I was just looking at a sheet. 3 hours before the close, and these stocks were a fair amount higher, generally speaking. So there was a little bit of profit taking toward the end. I think some of that in there might be short covering, and the same in the gold market. You know, the stabilizing factor, people either saving themselves or maybe even making a little money in their short positions. I just thought I'd mention that. Go ahead.
This is in from Tim. With the things that you have told us about for possibly coming next year, how do you see the elections factoring in? Will they try to wait and devalue after the election? Anything else you think about?
I would think after the election, of course. I think FDIC's demise will come before that. And maybe even, and they didn't tell me this, but the pension guarantee fund that they have, I think that's going to go under as well. I'm just guessing on that one. I've got no straight information. But it stands to reason that they'll go down too. I think the Democrats are going to get decimated in the next election. I mean, when you have people going to demonstrations and going to tea parties who have never voted before, people who have never been interested, people who are disgusted from all walks of life, and people who have voted in, if they've ever voted, let's put it this way, Democrats, Republicans, Marxists, right-wingers, they're all coming together in the center, and they're absolutely furious about what's been going on. Not only in this administration, which is only almost a year old, but the two previous administrations. But for the Democrats to try to ram through world government at the Smithsonian, which the president will be responsible for if he signs the agreement, which Congress will never pass, and then they'll try to, on that global warming, they'll try to end run him by going through the EPA. That's the next step they're going to do once they're defeated. And you've got this horrible, horrible euthanasia program known as medical reform. You get cap and trade. And the corruption is beyond people's belief in both parties. So it's going to be very, very bad for incumbents, particularly Democrats, because they're in charge right now.
Did I see where Obama has the worst first-year approval rating than any president?
And it's wrong, too. They're talking about a net 47 approval, and it's really around 39. You look at Rasmussen, you get a whole different set of figures.
Mm-hmm. Here's a gentleman who purchased some foreign currency a year ago, and he wants to trade for gold and silver. He's got euros and francs, Swiss francs. Is there a good time to convert it into FRNs?
Right now.
He purchased
and buy your coins right now, because I think we've had a bottom here. I think we've had the breather, the natural correction. Of course, it was caused by a government. It doesn't make any difference. They wasted their time this time. And we'll have a little stabilization process over a week or two, and that'll be it. And it'll be going back up again. So trade out of your currencies and buy the coins ASAP.
This is then from Robert. He is of the belief, as you and Bob are, that gold will trade above 5,000. Do you feel that this would put gold above 3,000 in Canadian dollar terms?
No. No, the Canadian dollar is going to go up against the U.S. dollar. Probably first it'll go to about 115, and before